watching a second term in the Middle East with a major assumption that personal relationship of sequence-based one-on-one deals can somehow in a region historically driven by revolutionary ideologies, deep sectarian divides, and complex proxy networks. So far, the scorecard suggests otherwise. We have seen the administration lock in a ceasefire framework with Iran and test the waters with Syria's new transitional leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa. However, these moves are flashing warning signs that might actually fracturing the historic alliance America has long relied on for its regional influence. Look at the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding. All the surprising suggestion that Damascus should take on the Hezbollah, both point to trend where a flurry of short-term diplomatic um, wins is substituting for a hard look at long-term strategic cost. Donald Trump's first term, the Abraham Accords, proved that practical normalization between Israel and several Arab states could advance U.S. interests, even without immediately solving the Palestinian issue. But the administration's current playbook seems to be eroding the exact conditions that made those first terms gains and wins possible. So let's break down the June 2026 Islamabad Memorandum. Mediated by Pakistan, this deal between the US and Iran had paused with an initial ceasefire as the 60-day window for deeper talks. Perks for Tehran are massive. Lifting a US naval blockade, granting waivers for Iranian oil exports, releasing frozen assets, proposing a massive $300 billion reconstruction framework. What did we push down the road, however? The hardest issue, Iran's ballistic missiles, its backing of non-state proxy groups, and the ultimate fate of its nuclear program. In return, Iran mostly just recycle its old promises rather than agreeing to a new, fresh, verifiable limits. The care is that Israel, the country most immediately exposed to Iranian proxy violence, was entirely excluded from the negotiations. Unsurprisingly, Israeli officials fired back, declaring they are not bound by the memo's term and fully intend to maintain their freedom to strike Hezbollah in Lebanon, because the agreement heavily emphasizes Lebanese sovereignty and calls for an end to military operations. It effectively tries to tie Israel's hand right when Hezbollah remains a direct immediate threat on its northern border. Meanwhile, traditional Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait, are understandably frustrated. They are watching Iran get sanctioned relief and economic lifeline without having to curb its ballistic missiles or rein it in proxy like Hezbollah and the Houthis. Their fear is completely rational. This newly freed up cash could help Tehran rebuild its stockpiles and fuel the very network threatening Gulf shipping lanes and as well as stability in Yemen and Lebanon. Strategically, this erodes a decade-old foundation of U.S. policy, and Washington bypassed its closest friends to negotiate directly with Iran, treating the core security peers of Israel and Gulf Arab states as secondary. Those partners naturally start doubting American loyalty. It's hard to sustain intelligence sharing, joint military planning, and Israel's qualitative military edge when allies conclude U.S. policies driven by scoring quick bilateral deals rather than countering shared threats. The memo might cool off the immediate risk of a direct U.S.-Iran war, but it does so at the incredibly high price of giving up long-term leverage over Iran's regional strategy. So, remember the massive protests rocking Iran from late 2025 into early 2026? Top U.S. officials, including the president, were cheering on publicly. They strongly hinted that outside pressure would help force change from within, framing military maneuvers as a way to create conditions for Iranians to take over their own government. Naturally, this skyrocket expectation for a population already taking huge risk to oppose the clerical regime. Then came the pivot. By rushing into direct negotiations and signing the memorandum, the US flipped the script. The administration handed the Iranian government greater access to oil money and global financial networks without building in any safety nets to protect the internal opposition. The regime's brutal capacity for recursion wasn't weakened at all, and they crushed the protests with the same little force we have seen in the past. It's a textbook lesson, unintended consequences. When you publicly hype up a resistant movement, but then pivot to engagement that enriches their regime, you leave the opposition exposed, shatter their expectations, and absolutely nothing to alter who actually holds power in Iran. Historically, we have seen this pattern play out. Even when maximum Persian campaigns wrecked the Iranian economy and sparked protests, the regime consistently adapts. They dodge sanctions, deepen ties with Russia and China, and intensify their domestic crackdowns. Unless you have a sustained strategy that actually connects outside Persia to the political reality on the ground, cheering for Iranian people is just a temporary signal, not a tool for lasting change. So then we have the Abraham Accord. 2020 normalization agreements between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco are genuine diplomatic shift. By decoupling diplomatic recognition and trade from the immediate demand for a Palestinian peace settlement, the accords unlock incredible new channels for trade, tech and security coordination. A massive driving force behind this was a shared desire to keep Iranian influence in check. But let's analyze what most probably will happen to the accord.
We're here this afternoon to change the course of history. After decades of division and conflict, we mark the dawn of a new Middle East. Together, these agreements will serve as the foundation for a comprehensive peace across the entire region, something which nobody thought was possible. For generations, the people of the Middle East have been held back by old conflicts, hostilities. These agreements prove that the nations of the region are breaking free from the failed approaches of the past. Today's signing sets history on a new course. Today, the world sees that they're choosing cooperation over conflict, friendship over enmity, prosperity over poverty, and hope over despair. They are choosing a future in which Arabs and Israelis, Muslims, Jews, and Christians can live together, pray together, and dream together, side by side in harmony, community, and peace. Once again, let me congratulate the people of Israel, the people of the United Arab Emirates, and the people of the Kingdom of Bahrain. God bless you all. This is an incredible day for the world.
The durability of these agreements relies entirely on its strong deterrence and consistent alliance management. When the US cuts secret deals with Iran, that eases the pressure on Iran's proxy network and its creeping nuclear threat. The whole rationale for normalization has not gone wrong. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain spent serious political capital to sign these deals. Now they are starting down an ambitious risky landscape where Iranian-backed groups operate with fewer constraints. Saudi Arabia, which was considering joining an expanded framework, has hit the brakes, and rightly so, given US policies handing Tehran economic wins without firmly capping its regional aggression. Getting more countries to join the accord became exponentially harder when the original signers feel the broader strategy ground shift into the accords work. The accords work because everyone had a clear-eyed, realistic view of mutual threats. Injecting new uncertainties into the alignment puts all those hard-won gains in jeopardy. Then there is the idea of assigning a primary responsibility for the Hezbollah problem to Ahmed al-Sharaa new transitional government in post-Assad Syria. This fundamentally underestimates the complexity of the region. Al-Sharaa will consolidate power after the regime fell, previously led Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and has historical affiliations with Al-Qaeda networks. US officials have sat down with him, backed Syrian stabilization, and casually floated the idea that Damascus could take the lead against Hezbollah next door in Lebanon. Let's be realistic about it. Hezbollah operates as a direct extension of Iranian power, fully armed with precision-guided munitions and boasting a command structure deeply integrated into Lebanese territory, expecting a brand new government, one trying to hold together a fractured multi-sectarian country and led by figures with a documented jihadist past to somehow neutralize this network relies on an alignment and capacity that simply doesn't exist. Al-Sharaa himself has bluntly indicated that jumping into a military quad in Lebanon isn't an agenda. Syria's new leadership has its hands full just trying to stay unified, rebuild the country, and manage competing foreign powers in the north. Dumping a massive security threat that directly endangers Israel onto an untested, preoccupied member shifts the burden to an actor with unproven priorities and capabilities. A much smarter approach would recognize why Israel had a quality military edge and independent intelligence in the first place. Threats on its immediate borders require direct management, not outsourcing to third parties whose incentives might widely diverge. Handing over core security to wild cards just dials up the probability of disastrous miscalculations and outright escalations. So right now, Trump's Middle East policy is defined by highly energetic diplomacy, but its internal logic is incredibly difficult to follow. The Islamabad Memorandum hands on economically while kicking the can down the road on its most dangerous capabilities in proxy groups. Low public support for Iranian protesters wasn't matched by any moves that actually changed the regime. The plan to toss the Hezbollah province to al-Shara's government relies on wildly optimistic guesses about what Syria can actually pull off. He could try to defend this step as pragmatic engagement or creative problem solving. But taking together, they paint a clear picture. The administration is consistently prioritizing one-on-one deal-making over keeping its allies cohesive and its deterrent risk treatment. The Abraham Accords were a success because they were built on the gritty reality of converging interests among Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, and others, not on the expectation that a charismatic handshake could magically reorder the Middle East. A foreign policy that constantly keeps Israel guessing, open checkbook for Iran without stopping its proxies and treats them after the sandbox for untested security experiments is going to accelerate regional fragmentation, not produce durable stability.